Before I lost my memory, the crown prince had fallen for someone else. The blaze collapsed the rafters, crushing my leg beneath the debris. He rushed toward me, yet upon hearing Yao Niang's cries, he turned to find her instead. That day, my face was scorched, festering, oozing pus, the pain piercing my soul. He called me delicate, unable to endure the slightest hardship. He didn't know I was sick. Once I forgot him, I wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Song Yunjie suddenly stopped loving me. He vanished for a month. When he returned, a girl with charming eyes and brows was by his side. That night, rain drifted down. Feverish, I clutched the letters he'd once written to me, reading them over and over. Suddenly, someone shouted, "The crown prince is back." Panicked, I rushed outside. My legs were weak, and I stumbled halfway, falling into mud and losing my shoes. Song Yunjie stood before the crown prince's mansion. The tall lanterns cast a dim, yellow glow upon him, making him look as beautiful as a dream. But he held another girl in his arms. The girl had twisted her ankle and was leaning against his chest, pouting, "Song Yunjie, put me down. With all these people watching, I don't want you carrying me, it's so embarrassing." I stopped abruptly, my ankles feeling as if shackled by iron chains, unable to move. I heard Song Yunjie's cold laugh, "Yao Niang, dare to address this prince by name again, and I shall cut out your tongue." His words were ruthless, yet I clearly saw his arms tighten around her. The wind tonight was fierce indeed. He was worried she'd catch cold. Suddenly, I remembered my youth, when I too would call out his full name, Song Yunjie, Song Yunjie. He'd once threatened to cut out my tongue too. Yet in the end, he fought fiercely for me, forcing me into the crown prince's residence. Song Yunjie only speaks with such contradiction to those he cares for. But now, it seemed he had fallen for someone else. I took a few steps forward, dumbly reaching out to touch him. How I wished this whole affair of Song Yunjie loving another was merely a nightmare that would vanish upon waking. Yet Yao Niang shoved me away harshly. She looked down at me with near contempt, snorting coldly, "Song Yunjie, your crown princess nearly soiled my robes." I stumbled over the threshold, hitting the back of my head. Darkness flooded my vision, and before I knew it, I vomited all over the floor. I heard Song Yunjie say, "Clean it up. Don't soil the crown prince's residence's tiles." The man who once filled his heart and eyes with only me now just stared at me coldly. So it was true after all. Song Yunjie had returned, but he no longer loved me. Perhaps because my heart ached, my illness refused to improve. I couldn't understand how everything had changed so completely in just 1 month, how Song Yunjie could vanish suddenly and then reappear just as abruptly. Lu Yu tried to cheer me up, "Your Highness, please get well soon. Spring is here, and the prince is waiting to take you kite flying." She dared not meet my eyes. See? She doesn't even believe her own words. Yao Niang often passed by my courtyard, laughing loudly about how the spring breeze was so lovely, lifting her beautiful kite high into the sky. One day she turned into the house, demanding I make room for her. "I'm choosing where to live," she said. Song Yunjie said I can stay wherever I want, including here. She emphasized the last few words, utterly smug. After all my searching, the Empress's courtyard suits me best. I hear the peach tree here was planted by Song Yunjie himself. That makes it even more to my liking. I hated her. Hated the way she arched her eyebrows, hated the tone of her voice, hated how she flaunted Song Yunjie's favoritism without a shred of restraint. But what I hated most was Song Yunjie, who no longer loved me. I grabbed the shoes by the bed and hurled them at Yao Niang's face with all my strength. Everything within my grasp, vases, brushes, inkstones. I hurled them all at her without exception. Song Yunjie arrived swiftly. He lifted Yao Niang by both arms, examining her head to toe, terrified she might be hurt. I stood barefoot in the courtyard, shards of porcelain cutting my soles until both feet bled profusely. "Song Yunjie, the one who's hurt is me." Song Yunjie glanced at the bloody footprints on the ground, then raised an eyebrow to look at me. He turned back to smooth Yao Niang's hair at her temple, comforting her, "I'll have a new courtyard built for you. Bigger and prettier than this one." Gritting my teeth against the pain in my feet, I stepped closer to him, grabbed his hand, and bit down hard. He lowered his gaze, fixed on me, not moving, letting me bite until blood flowed. Song Yinjie, you know you've hurt me, don't you? I didn't want to cry, but tears fell in big drops, splattering onto the back of his hand. Song Yinjie, I can't just ache for you for nothing. Yao Niang's courtyard lay next to mine. Her roof was tiled with glazed tiles, lotus lanterns hanging from the eaves. Whatever she wanted, Song Yinjie would find it for her. Whatever she said, he agreed. Her laughter often drifted over the wall, piercing my ears. I began losing sleep night after night, my hair falling out in handfuls. I hid in my room, curling up under the quilt and covering my ears. I missed my mother. When I was little, before my little brother was born, life was hard, but every night, as long as she held me, I could sleep soundly. I wanted her to hold me. Hesitantly, I wrote a letter telling my mother I wanted to come home. The day I received her reply happened to be my birthday. I eagerly tore open the envelope and read it silently by the dim candlelight, my lips curling upward before slowly falling. Mother told me to be good, to serve Song Yinjie well, so she and my little brother could speak with confidence at home. She told me not to cry or fuss, that hard times would pass if I endured them, in the blink of an eye, soon enough. She forgot to say she missed me, forgot to tell me to take care of myself, forgot to wish me a happy birthday and peace throughout the year. Mother, you don't know how much it hurts. These days of pretending everything is fine, of maintaining appearances, they're unbearable. Listen, Yao Niang is showing off to me again, this hairpin is so beautiful. Song Yinjie, today isn't even my birthday, why did you give me another gift? Do you just like me that much? Even through the wall, I could picture her clinging to Song Yinjie's arm, swaying and cooing like a kitten. I picked up the longevity noodles from the table, shoveled a huge mouthful into my mouth, then grimaced and laughed exaggeratedly. So delicious! Luiwei, your cooking is especially fragrant. And the shoes my mother embroidered for me, they're absolutely gorgeous. I thought, if anyone wants to hear me cry, I'll laugh even louder. Luiwei, don't look at me with pity. The little peach tree in the courtyard rustled in the wind, petals fluttering down in a shower. I said to Luiwei, look, it's crying. Song Yinjie had planted a small peach grove for Yao Niang, meticulously pruned and perfectly arranged. Compared to those trees, my little peach tree grew like a wild child. Its trunk split however it pleased, its branches bent wherever they wished. Song Yinjie once hired someone to give it a facelift, but I gave him a good scolding. Humans already endure so many constraints, let a tree live freely and unrestrained. Because he was scolded over the little peach tree, Song Yinjie often looked at it with displeasure. Whenever I wasn't looking, he'd secretly call it an ugly thing. Little peach tree, you're so foolish. He doesn't even like you, yet you still think of him. I truly hope you never find out. He has other little peach trees now. He doesn't want you anymore. After the fever broke, I was left with lingering health issues, headaches would come and go. Not wanting to worry Luiwei, I secretly sought medical help. The doctor asked if I'd ever been injured before. I recalled the night Song Yinjie returned, Yao Niang shoved me, and I hit my head. The doctor said if it had been worse, I might have lost all my memories. He told me to take good care of myself, saying I was with child. Calculating the timing, it was over 2 months, conceived before Song Yinjie left. I placed my hand on my belly but felt nothing. The doctor chuckled cheerfully, he's still so tiny, probably only about the size of a peanut. How adorable. Little one, I long to bring you into this world. I long to be your mother. I long to watch you grow up. But you came at the wrong time. Do you understand? I am a woman without family support, unloved by my husband. If you became my child, your life would be filled with hardship. I don't want you to get heat rash in summer or frostbite in winter. I don't want you crouching by the kitchen door picking up meat scraps to eat. And I certainly don't want you being led around town on a dog leash by your siblings. Don't think I'm joking, this is exactly how I grew up. I grabbed the abortion medicine and had Luiwei boil it. Then I slipped off my shoes, climbed onto the bed, and curled up tight, just so I could hold the little peanut inside me. Give me a moment. Let me rock you to sleep. Let me be your mother for just a little while. Child, when you're reborn, keep your eyes wide open. Find a good family. Don't seek glory or riches. Seek warmth and fullness. Seek harmony among loved ones. Seek love, lots and lots of love. When I awoke, darkness had already fallen outside. The room was lit by a lamp. I opened my eyes, tears streaming, and saw Song Yunjie sitting by the bed. He used to say he loved watching me sleep, that I looked as docile as a little rabbit. I loved sleeping in. Every day when he returned from court, I was still in bed. He would rest his chin on his hand, sitting by the bedside, waiting for me to wake. For a moment, I was dazed, thinking perhaps Yao Niang had been nothing but a nightmare. I reached out to Song Yunjie, intertwining my fingers with his, and called out softly, "Your Highness." But he suddenly yanked me up, the force hurting me. He splashed the contraceptive potion onto my face and sneered, "Awake now?" I shuddered. Song Yunjie gritted his teeth, as if he could devour me raw. He gripped my chin, enunciating each word, "Shinshuyu, how dare you refuse the child of the sovereign?" His index finger traced my nose, lips, and throat before clamping around my neck. If he wished, he could strangle me dead in an instant. Lu Yu knelt on the floor, begging for mercy, "Your Highness, it's all the servant's fault. Please don't harm the Empress." Song Yunjie kicked her aside with one foot. He threatened me, "If my child is lost, I will make someone pay with their life. That insolent dog of a servant by your side, I'll take her life first. As for you, Shinshuyu, you've caused me pain. I won't kill you. I have plenty of ways to make you wish you were dead." I laughed, my lips trembling, my eyes stinging. "Song Yunjie, I must kill my own child with my own hands. Am I not suffering as much as you?" My palm missed his face entirely as I choked out the accusation. "I bore him only to watch your favored concubine beat and scold him? To hear him ask me why his father loved other children but not him? Song Yunjie, why should I bear a child for a man who doesn't love me? If you don't love me, then don't love me. If you want to love someone else, go ahead. But you shouldn't trample on my true feelings, refusing to give me even the most basic respect. You made me feel like my love was worthless, like I was the most despicable person in the world. I hate you to death." I cursed viciously. "If I die one day, I won't be able to close my eyes. If you want my child to be bullied by you, you're dreaming." Empress Wang, Song Yunjie's birth mother, had passed away early. He understood better than anyone the pain of growing up without a mother. 2 claw marks appeared on his face. His eyes reddened, and he gritted his teeth in fury. "What nonsense are you spouting? My child, I will hold him in the palm of my hand and cherish him for a lifetime. I will give him power, I will give him wealth, whatever he desires, whatever I possess." His eyes shone brightly, his gaze unwaveringly resolute. "Song Yunjie, you nearly had me fooled." Yao Niang's maid burst in clumsily, calling out, "Your Highness. The young lady won't stop crying. Nothing comforts her. She says she misses you terribly." Suddenly, I felt intensely irritated, a throbbing headache pulsing through my temples. I grabbed the pillow and hurled it at the wall. The thud finally silenced Yao Niang's voice from the next room. "Song Yunjie, if you want this child, fine. Make Yao Niang disappear." Song Yunjie narrowed his eyes, as if amused by a joke, and chuckled softly. He warned me, "Shinshuyu, don't even think about Yao Niang. She isn't you. She doesn't have your scheming mind, nor would she stoop to tormenting an innocent child. If you keep making things difficult for her, once the child is born, send it to the Empress Dowager to raise." Song Yunjie had said that if anything happened to my pregnancy, not a single servant in my quarters would survive. The maids were terrified, taking turns watching me with a dozen pairs of eyes, afraid I might do something reckless and drag everyone down with me. They were all foolish, not realizing how happy it made me. The Empress Dowager loved children, and her quarters were peaceful. With little Peanut under her care, I felt more at ease than anyone. Occasionally, I'd feel a pang of longing, touching my swollen belly and shedding a few tears. Then I'd rise, clutching my sewing basket, and stay up late embroidering tiny shoes, bodysuits, and hats for my precious little one. Lu Yu couldn't bear it any longer. She blew out every lamp in the room in one breath and, with several maids, carried me to bed. "Your Highness, sleep now. The Empress Dowager's palace offers fine food and fine clothes. Little Peanut will want for nothing. Yes, my child is going to live a good life with the Empress Dowager. I'm not afraid he'll go hungry or cold. I only fear he'll think his parents abandoned him, that he'll hide away and grieve in secret. I want him wearing clothes I made, standing with hands on hips, showing them off. Look. This little tiger was embroidered by my mother. I must find another way to stay by his side. Lying awake on the bed, I suddenly heard movement in the courtyard. It was Song Yinjie. He lit a lamp and entered the room, drank some wine, and sat drunkenly on the footstool, playing with my fingers. I pretended to roll over and pulled my hand back. His gaze lingered long behind me, then stubbornly took my hand again, slipping something onto my fingertips. I opened my eyes to look. It was Peanut's little cloth shoes. Song Yinjie fussed about in the room for a long while. He sat before the dressing table, facing the bronze mirror, holding the tiger head I'd made for the child, trying to stuff his head inside. He tugged at the tiger's legs, pulling down hard, then rip. The tiger's rear split clean in two. I wanted to jump down and punch him. He froze there for ages, taking off the hat and examining it from every angle, muttering, "It's not the design, the fabric just isn't sturdy." All the while, he peered at me with sly eyes, checking if I was awake. Maybe I should have smiled at him, said something witty, and perhaps he might have changed his mind. But Song Yinjie, I don't want to. I won't wait for you anymore. I closed my eyes and whispered softly, "Song Yinjie, from now on, don't come back." He fell silent for a moment, tossed the ruined hat onto the table, and walked out. After that night, Song Yinjie never returned. News of him came only in snippets, carried by Yao Niang's laughter. She said Song Yinjie bought sweet sesame candy to cheer her up. She said Song Yinjie told her stories at night to lull her to sleep. Lu Yu fumed, cursing, "I'd love to stuff a sock in her mouth." I chuckled, my needle trembling in my hand and pricking my finger. A drop of blood fell onto the little Peanut's undershirt, bright red and unsettling to behold. I decided to send all the finished undershirts to the laundry room with Lu Yu, wanting some quiet time to myself. She left carrying the basket. Soon after, I heard Yao Niang shrieking in a high-pitched voice, "Can't you see where you're going?" My heart skipped a beat. Clutching the scissors, I rushed out, my belly protruding. Lu Yu was being held down by two maidservants, kneeling before Yao Niang. Little Peanut's clothes were scattered all over the floor. Yao Niang raised her eyebrows at me with a sneer. This blind fool dirted my shoes. Making her lick them clean isn't unreasonable, is it? The maids pressed Lu Yu's face downward. My blood boiled instantly. I swung my hand and slapped Yao Niang across the face. "You insolent creature! I'm not bothering with you, but you think I'm afraid of you." Everyone present today, any who touched Lu Yu, will be flogged and sold off without exception. All faces paled as they knelt begging for mercy. My usual gentleness had led them to think I was easy to bully. Yao Niang clutched her face, staring at me in disbelief. "You dare strike me?" She lunged forward, held back by others who clamored, "Miss Yao, the crown prince's consort is carrying a child. You mustn't harm her." Yao Niang stomped her foot on little Peanut's belly band, grinding it viciously. "A child? Only one born safely is a child. If it dies inside, it's just a pile of rotten flesh. Do you think you can even give birth?" She fixed her gaze on my belly, her smile turning venomous. "Your Highness, do you know how many women die in childbirth? Do you know how many lose both mother and child? Do you know how stepmothers raise their stepchildren? I'll make him fight dogs for scraps. He'll wear thin shirts in winter and padded coats in summer. I'll whip him until he's covered in bruises, then soak him in salt water. Song Yinjie, look at the mess you've made. See what you've turned this fool into?" My belly suddenly twisted in two sharp pains, shooting through my head. My limbs grew icy cold. Just hearing Yao Niang's words sent a cold sweat running down my back. Days of lost sleep left me dazed, my mind spiraling out of control. That barefoot child standing in the snow, watching the other sisters huddle around the stove eating sweet potatoes. That child chased by the eldest sister's dog, its throat torn by the hound's jaws. That child whose mouth was beaten bloody by the mistress for taking one extra bite of pastry. Who was that? So pitiful. Yao Niang was going to torture my child. She said it with such glee, her laughter making my teeth grind with rage. She was so noisy, so noisy. If only she could shut up forever. I twisted the scissors into her chest with my backhand. A crowd scrambled to find Song Yunjie. When he arrived, I was crouched on the ground, picking up my undergarments one by one. Shin Shuyu, have you lost your mind? He roared at me, eyes bulging. I stared back coldly, grinding out the words through clenched teeth. She deserved it. I asked Song Yunjie, when Yao Niang bullied my child, didn't she deserve to die? Song Yunjie snatched a belly band and flung it at my face, gnashing his teeth. You can find rags like this anywhere. Yao Niang merely stepped on it. Does that make her deserving of death? I nearly screamed. She cursed me. She wanted me dead. She bullied my child. But Song Yunjie couldn't care less about how treacherous Yao Niang was. All he cared about was that the person he loved had been hurt by me. He overpowered my voice, shouting at me, she was just talking. Shin Shuyu, how did I never notice how vicious you are before? If Yao Niang comes to any harm, I'll make you pay with your life. So the clothes I made for our child were rags, Song Yunjie? So the gift brimming with my love wasn't worth as much as Yao Niang's gold-plated feet, was it? So as long as I didn't die, she wouldn't have to take responsibility. Perhaps even if I had died, you'd still find countless excuses to exonerate her. Song Yunjie, how much you love her. I grabbed Song Yunjie by the collar and laughed out loud. Yes, I am vicious. I've wanted to kill her for ages. If she somehow survives today, you'd better hide her well. Song Yunjie, the moment I see her, she must die. How dare she demand my daughter pay with her life? What does she think she is? Song Yunjie gripped my chin, his eyes burning with hatred. Shin Shuyu, what are you, anyway? The Shin family's daughter? How impressive. A trampled concubine's daughter. Without this emperor's protection, you'd have rotted in the mud long ago. Remember this, you are but a dog I keep. The man who once swore to protect me for life now publicly exposed my scars, humiliating me before all. He ordered men to seize Lu Yue. He knew my weakest points best, how to inflict the deepest pain. He sneered contemptuously, since your life is so precious, I'll find someone to die in your place. I grabbed his arm, finally unable to hold back my tears. Song Yunjie, if you dare harm Lu Yue, you'll have to step over my dead body first. He pushed me away coldly. He had men gag my mouth, bind my hands and feet, and lock me inside a room. He feared I might kill myself. He feared I might harm his child. But he didn't fear my tears, nor my broken heart. Bound to the bed, my tears flowed unceasingly, stinging my skin until it burned. Yao Niang seemed to have awakened. I heard Song Yunjie say, "Stop crying, my dear. Didn't you constantly clamor for me to marry you? When you're well again, I'll give you the most beautiful wedding gown and the grandest ceremony." In the darkness, my abdomen began to throb with waves of pain. Blood, carrying the metallic scent of rust, flowed out, staining the bedding crimson. I opened my eyes wide, trying to call for help, but my mouth was gagged, and my hands and feet were bound. I couldn't move. No matter how I struggled, I couldn't move. Blood surged uncontrollably from below. I slammed my head against the bedpost, desperate to make some noise. Like a mute with a severed tongue, I could only emit low, muffled whimpers. Someone, please help me. Save my child's life. He already has arms and legs. He can move now. He never got to wear the little clothes I made for him. He never learned to play with the rattle I bought him. He never saw the little peach blossoms in the courtyard. He never got to call me mother. What can I do, my child? It seems your mother can't hold on to you. Blood from my forehead stuck to my eyes, and I forced myself to stop crying. I promised I'd smile and say goodbye when the time came. But you're my heart, my flesh and blood, how could I bear to let you go like this? I tilted my head back, tears flooding into my mouth, their bitterness numbing my tongue. My child, forget all the pain of this life. If we meet again in the next life, just smile at me. Let me know you're doing well. With all my strength, one last time, I slammed my head against the bedpost. I hate myself. I kept you here against your will, only to let you leave alone. Finally, someone pushed open the door. Approaching, they gasped in horror, "Her Majesty is bleeding." Chaos erupted in the courtyard as people rushed in. Seeing my state, they couldn't help but frown. Blood covered my face and body, I was filthy and reeked. Someone grabbed my shoulders and roared, "Shinshuyu! Shinshuyu! Wake up!" How did it come to this? Don't sleep, please don't fall asleep. I stared at him hazily, too exhausted to open my mouth. Hey, you're hurting me. Who are you? Why are you crying? I heard I was the Crown Prince's consort. They say that once, the Crown Prince and I were as inseparable as two vines tightly entwined, unbreakable, indivisible. Then, a girl named Yao appeared in the mansion, and he stopped loving me. Song Yunjie was scolded by the emperor for wanting to marry her as a secondary consort. Fortunately, he was usually upright and exceptionally talented, an occasional lapse in judgment was forgivable. He remained the unparalleled choice for Crown Prince. Yet Yao Niang never achieved her wish, settling instead as a consort of distinction. Behind closed doors, Song Yunjie held a grand ceremony for her. Dressed in exquisite bridal robes, she smiled as she took the treasury keys from my hands. Song Yunjie declared, "Henceforth, Yao Niang shall manage the household. You must focus on recovering your health. Leave all else to me. Don't provoke Yao Niang. Just be a proper crown princess consort. She won't give you trouble." I knew he must think I was a fool too. How could a fool manage the household? The servants whispered behind my back that I was stupid. But I only had headaches, endless, relentless pain. I couldn't remember anything, so naturally, I was always a step behind. They understood nothing. They only knew how to mock me. After Yao Niang took charge, I began to go without enough food and clothing. That day, when my headache flared, I sent someone to fetch medicine from the kitchen. Half a day later, she returned empty-handed. She said the household was cutting expenses lately, and since my medicine had run out, none had been replenished. Clutching my head, the pain twisted my features into a grimace. I took 2 maids with me and turned straight into Yao Niang's courtyard. Every day I'd hear her laughter shaking the branches. Fine, I'd see for myself what could make her so merry. Yao Niang was savoring pastries with fine tea, her eyes half closed in contentment. Seeing me, she flinched slightly before switching to a triumphant grin. "Your Highness is unaware, the southern floods prompted His Highness to lead by example, donating half his annual allowance just days ago. You'll just have to endure the discomfort, Your Highness. Headaches aren't life-threatening, they'll ease in time." The pastries by her side cost a tael of silver per plate, and there were 6 varieties laid out on the table. She pushed one toward me, smiling as she said, "His Highness knows I adore these. He specially allowed me to buy them. He said no matter who gets shortchanged, I must never be deprived. Your Highness, care to try?" I laughed along with her. With a raised eyebrow, 2 matrons stepped forward, yanking Yao Niang to her knees on the floor and pinning her down firmly. These 2 were veteran palace attendants. After I fell ill, the Empress had dispatched them specifically to care for me. No one dared stop them. "Yao Niang, I am the Crown Princess. How dare you be so insolent?" My hand smacked her cheeks repeatedly as I asked with a playful smile, "The old me must have been easy to bully, right?" I picked up a pastry and shoved it into her mouth. The crumbs choked her into a fit of coughing. I didn't care. I stuffed 2 more pieces in, filling Yao Niang's mouth completely. "His Highness favors you so much. Don't waste his kindness. If you like to eat, then eat well. I'll watch you eat." My forehead throbbed painfully. When I'm unwell, my temper flares. I don't know what my nature was back then, but now? I won't tolerate injustice. With over a dozen pastries stuffed into her mouth, Yao Niang choked and gagged, gasping for breath as snot and tears smeared her face. I grabbed her hair and slammed her head against the floor, once, twice, 3 times. The thudding sounds strangely calmed me. Until the gash on her head looked almost identical to the one on mine. I stopped, ordered a bronze mirror, and pressed it against her face. Arrogance born of favor must have its limits. The one who protects you, can he always be by your side? When he can't protect you, even if I kill you, who could do anything to me? Remember how you look now. When you feel tempted to act like a bitch again, bring this out to snap you back to your senses." She trembled in terror. I smiled, pointed at my own head, and whispered, "I'm sick in the head, Yao Niang. Tick off anyone, but never a madman." When Song Yunjie arrived, I was tossing and turning in agony on the bed. Curled up in the quilt, clutching my head, I faced away from him and sneered coldly, "What? Here to avenge your precious darling?" He sat behind me, pulled me out from under the covers with one hand, then held the medicine bowl to my lips, coldly commanding, "Drink it." Before me, he was always steady and composed, as cold and unyielding as a piece of wood. It was hard to imagine we had ever loved each other. My husband should have been gentle and considerate. His gaze upon me should have been smiling, filled with tenderness. Not like this, his face set in a grim line, as if I owed him a fortune. Song Yunjie mentioned he planned to head south in 2 days to manage the flood control. "You'll come with me then. I'll take you back to the Shin residence for a while." Shortly after I married Song Yunjie, the Shin family left the capital to settle in the south. The area now ravaged by floods was just a stone's throw away. I glared at him fiercely. "Are you telling me to leave, to get out of Yao Niang's way and make room for her?" He rose, brushing his sleeves, his gaze cool and detached. "What else? Yao Niang has nowhere else to go but the Crown Prince's residence. My home is her home." His expression was utterly infuriating. That constant feeling of being looked down upon made me seethe with frustration. I couldn't hold back, I kicked out. My foot struck his thigh, grazing his groin. Song Yunjie grimaced in pain, forcing himself upright as he pointed an accusing finger at me. "Shin Shuyu, are you looking for a beating?" Seeing his face turn pale, I felt a rush of satisfaction. I sneered coldly, "Your Highness, aren't you quite the actor? I thought even if the sky fell, you wouldn't bat an eye. Keep that stern face, keep looking down on me, keep secretly despising me. Who are you putting on that act for? Sooner or later, I'll cripple you." He clamped his hand over my mouth, fuming with rage. He silenced me, yet he himself opened his mouth to curse me. If he thought he could make me suffer, he was sorely mistaken. I bit down on his hand with all my might. Song Yunjie cursed, "Shinshuyu, you're a dog that never learns." I refused to let go, mumbling back a curse, "You're the shit, stinking dog shit." Song Yunjie and I had completely fallen out. He wouldn't let me leave, saying he'd deal with me after fixing the water. I insisted on leaving. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. While packing, I dug out a torn tiger hat from the bottom of a trunk. I knew I'd once had a child, one with bad luck who didn't make it to birth. But when others spoke of it before, it never felt real. The hat was adorable. I put it on and sat before the bronze mirror. With 2 ragged cloth strips perched atop my bun, I looked like a silly old woman, quite comical. I wanted to laugh, but no sound came out. My chest felt tight, my mind a chaotic whirl. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. I looked down and saw blood, lots and lots of blood, staining my skirt, its origin unknown. I tried to scream for help, but something seemed to choke my throat, leaving me utterly voiceless. I stuck my fingers into my mouth, digging until I felt sick, then slapped myself hard across the face twice. Only then did I snap back to my senses. 2 little girls hugged me, urgently asking what was wrong. I clenched my fists and slammed them hard against my chest. I couldn't breathe. I felt so miserable. I burst into tears. What was wrong with me? I didn't even know myself. I kept calling out a name I'd never heard before, "Luiwe, Luiwe. Where are you? I miss you so much." Song Yunjie must have heard the commotion from next door and rushed over. He knelt down, scooped me up, and glared at the tiger hat in my hand. "Who cleaned this room?" he snarled. "I told you to put these things away. Are you all deaf? All of you, get out and face punishment. Replace every single person in this room." My voice choked as I asked him, "Lu Yu? Who is Lu Yu? Where is she? I need to see her." Song Yunjie said Lu Yu was just a maid who made a grave mistake. He sold her away, and I'd never see her again. His thumb rubbed the pad of his index finger. He was guilty, convinced he'd concealed it perfectly. A stone pressed against my chest, beneath which something stirred restlessly, desperate to break free. I strained to grasp some thread of understanding. I must have forgotten something crucial. But no one told me the truth. They were all deceiving me. The night before heading south, Yao Niang and Song Yingjie had a huge fight. She insisted on coming along, but Song Yingjie refused, saying the journey was long and they couldn't spare so many people. Yao Niang hysterically demanded, "Then why can Shinshu go? Why are you taking her? Can't you live without her? Do you still love her? Don't you?" Song Yingjie explained to her with resignation, "Yao Niang, this journey south isn't a leisurely sightseeing trip. We'll be living simply, and it will be very arduous. You've endured hardship before. Now you have me. I don't want you to suffer anymore. This time, I'm taking her with me. You'll stay behind in the mansion, happy and free. Isn't that better?" Yao Niang whimpered, her words protesting but her tone rising like a cheerful yet awkward little bird. I rolled over, burying my face in the quilt, and smiled. The journey south would be arduous, the hardships Yao Niang couldn't bear, I could endure. As we traveled south, the number of refugees we encountered grew ever larger. My gaze kept drifting unconsciously to the widows and orphans. Watching them clutching dying children, weeping and crying for help, that helplessness felt strangely familiar. I consciously searched for echoes of past memories, hoping to recall those things Song Yingjie didn't want me to remember. A downpour at dusk blocked our path, so we sought shelter in a dilapidated temple nearby. The temple was crammed with displaced people. Dressed in plain coarse hemp robes, we blended in. Yet when we pulled out our dry rations and water, we drew some unfriendly stares. Fortunately, our group of over a dozen, all burly men except me, deterred any trouble. Song Yingjie dug 2 steamed buns out of a pile of mantu and handed them to me, his face stern as he said, "Meat ones." He tried hard to control his expression, but couldn't hide that hint of pride in his eyes. Ever since my illness, his attitude had grown peculiar. Outwardly, he remained aloof, yet his words and actions carried an odd warmth. I gave the displaced people a dismissive nod, then turned to Song Yingjie with a smile. "You can eat? I can't." He looked flustered and annoyed, gritting his teeth. "It's everyone's own fate, Shinshuyu. You can't take it out on me." He stood up and signaled to 2 attendants. The 3 of them untied several bundles and called out, "Fellow villagers, this is all we have. Let's share it together." At the sight of the white steamed buns, the crowd rushed forward to grab them. A mother and child took 2 buns and kowtowed to Song Yingjie. The child was sallow and emaciated, with only a pair of bright, sparkling eyes. He was both crying and smiling, a sight that tugged at the heartstrings. Song Yingjie pointed at me. "If you must thank anyone, thank my wife. She has the heart of a bodhisattva." I froze slightly. He turned away coldly, no longer looking at me. After a moment, the child shyly ran over. He held a bracelet woven from foxtail grass, pressed it into my hands, said "Thank you, madam," and darted away again. I slipped it onto my wrist. The more I looked at it, the more I loved it. Staring at it, my eyes stung. Song Yingjie returned and sat down, tossing 2 steamed buns into my lap. His tone carried a hint of mockery. "Can you eat now? Living bodhisattva, the northwest wind won't fill your stomach." He tore off chunks of steamed bun and stuffed them into his mouth. Moments later, he added, "It's just a child. There will be more." My heart ached with sorrow and bitterness. What did he mean, just a child? I sneered coldly, "There may be more in the future, but they certainly won't be yours and mine." Song Yingjie's expression shifted. Before he could speak, urgent horse hooves clattered outside. A man covered in mud rushed straight inside. I recognized him. He was the guard Song Yingjie had assigned to Yao Niang. Yao Niang had followed him after all. The guard explained that Yao Niang couldn't bear staying in the mansion after Song Yingjie left just 2 days ago. She was overcome with anxiety, refusing all attempts to calm her, insisting on finding him. Now she was stuck 2 miles away, her carriage bogged down in mud, waiting for Song Yingjie to come rescue her. Of course he went. Before leaving, he reminded me, "Stay here. Don't cause trouble. I'll be back soon." When I saw Yao Niang arrive, decked out in glittering gold, I nearly laughed in exasperation. Instead of finding time to scold me, Song Yunjie should have properly explained to his darling what it means to avoid flaunting wealth in turbulent times. His expression wasn't much better either, likely worried that the displaced people might target us, go out, and stir up trouble. He ordered several guards to station themselves at the temple gates, barring anyone from entering or leaving. After all, a refugee uprising was no trivial matter. We held out until the rain stopped. Under cover of night, the group hurriedly set off again, daring not to linger for even a moment's rest. Yao Niang still hadn't grasped the gravity of the situation. While cooing at Song Yunjie, she teased me, "Your face, Your Highness, is just as dirty as the first time I ever saw you." All the suffering she endured these past years seemed to have been swallowed by a dog. I couldn't be bothered to respond. Song Yunjie had carried me on his horse the entire journey. Now that Yao Niang had arrived, he'd have to leave one of us behind. I didn't need him to humiliate me personally. I casually grabbed someone and swung myself onto his horse. Song Yunjie gave me a deep look, said nothing, pulled Yao Niang into his embrace, and cracked his whip to depart. The man sharing my mount showed no urgency. I gripped half a corner of his robe, but he suddenly reached out, tugged my arm, and pulled me around his waist. Tall and broad-shouldered, I gazed up at the back of his head, about to scold him for his audacity, when I heard him ask, "Have you truly forgotten everything?" I asked who he was. He gave his name, Zhou Tangyue. I knew this man, the general of the flying cavalry who'd just returned victorious from the frontier, rumored to have nearly exterminated all the bandits along the border. I nodded, somewhat puzzled. Were we very familiar with each other before? He leisurely reined his horse forward, swaying gently. After a moment, he chuckled softly. "More than familiar. Once, you were almost my wife, Zhou Tangyue's wife." We reached a small town before nightfall to rest. In a few more days, we would arrive at the Shin residence. Zhou Tangyue rode steadily. By the time we caught up with Song Yunjie, he'd already eaten dinner and gone to bed. Word was he'd ordered the innkeeper to close early, forbidding anyone from disturbing his rest. Looks like he planned to leave me hungry tonight. The entire inn was silent. Zhou Tangyue snorted. "What a fuss." He pulled a flatbread from his robe and tossed it to me before cracking his whip and heading into his own room. I returned to mine, leaning against the door and closing my eyes. The headache was starting again. Song Yunjie slipped silently around the screen, blocking my view. Fresh from a bath, his hair still damp with moisture. In the pitch-black room, only moonlight, him, and my reflection in his eyes existed. "What are you doing here?" I tried to push him away, but he pressed down on my hand, stubbornly refusing to budge. He snatched the hard, flatbread from my grasp and snorted, following Zhou Tangyue, "And this is what he feeds you?" With a casual toss, he flung it out the window. "Shin Shuyu, with so many men to choose from, how did you end up picking him? Your memory loss, you're faking it, right?" Rumor has it I was snatched away from Zhou Tangyue by Song Yunjie. Back then, Zhou Tangyue was a notorious troublemaker in the capital. After losing his beloved to another, he stormed off to the frontier. He stayed there for 5 years, carving out a reputation for himself. I laughed as I pushed Song Yunjie away, answering his question with a non sequitur. If I had another chance, I'd definitely choose the one with the Zhou surname. He pressed his hand against the back of my neck, pushing me toward the table and insisting I eat properly. "He wasn't right for you." Song Yunjie slumped down beside me, pouring himself a drink and sipping it as his gaze lingered on my face. "Do you know why you liked me back then? You're fiery on the outside but tender within. Zhou Tangyue didn't understand you. He only knew to take your word for it, taking 1 as 1 and 2 as 2. I remember that year when his cousin came to the capital. They were all tangled up in a mess, and he, being so straightforward, didn't understand a girl's delicate feelings. He didn't notice you were upset. That day we went to White Horse Mountain. She and you were fighting over a butterfly kite. Zhou Tangyue came to ask you, saying she rarely visited and hoped you'd let her have it. You said whatever in a huff, and he actually took you seriously. Even though he later gave you over a dozen beautifully designed kites, none of them were the same as that butterfly one. That was when I knew, he and you could never be. Truthfully, it wasn't that I snatched you from him. You belonged to no one. It was your heart that chose me. Because that day, it was I who secured that butterfly kite for you. Whatever you desire, spoken or unspoken, I will make it yours. What a beautiful story. But alas, it was merely the beginning. Not every story's beginning equates to its ending. I asked Song Yinjie, did you keep your promise? He stroked his wine glass, his expression neither quite a smile nor quite a frown. Bitterness rose in my mouth as I lifted the wine jug and took a long, silent sip. Song Yinjie, hearing about the past is truly heartbreaking. A mere kite could deceive my affection, how cheap my affection must be. Cheap things are never cherished. At least when Zhou Tangyue speaks of me, he doesn't gloat like you do, using it as a boast. He still says he owes me a kite. Perhaps he isn't as clever as you in matters of the heart, he's clumsy, but he's sincere. Only as an adult did I realize how rare a sincere heart truly is. Song Yinjie frowned and stared at me for a moment. Suddenly, he pinched my chin and murmured, "What? Have you fallen for him? Shinshuyu, do you know you're the crown prince's consort? You'd better behave. I was just about to treat you a little better." I glared at him, sneering coldly, "Is this your bluff? Begging for peace with me? Your Highness, I'm sorry. Those who seek my forgiveness after betraying me, I have no use for them." He suddenly laughed aloud, planting a quick peck on my lips. "Shinshuyu, it's not I who owes you an apology. It is you who owe me one. If one day you come to understand, you might cry out begging for my forgiveness. Who knows?" As he spoke, hatred churned in his eyes, though it vanished just as quickly. He released his grip, stood up, ruffled my hair, and hummed as he walked out the door. "Just drift through life in this haze. Stop trying to figure everything out. Becoming a fool is heaven's blessing upon you. Don't be ungrateful." That night, I kept thinking about Song Yinjie's words, that I was the one who had wronged him. My mind eventually grew empty, and lost in thought, I drifted into a deep sleep. In my dream, I suddenly felt so hot my mouth went dry. I forced my eyes open and heard chaos outside, people shouting that a fire had broken out. Rushing outside, I saw the main hall already engulfed in a blur of flames. I quickly soaked the quilt in the bathtub, draped it over myself, and fled. Crackling sounds filled the air. Stepping onto the stairs, a broken plank gave way, sending me tumbling down. Falling beams slammed into my legs. This place was about to collapse. Thick smoke billowed. I tried to scream for help, but opening my mouth only brought suffocating fumes. That familiar helplessness surged back. Fighting the pounding in my chest, I forced myself to stay calm and turned to push the wooden beam. Useless. No matter how hard I pushed, it wouldn't budge. I broke down, sobbing as I crawled forward. The wood was too heavy, I couldn't move it. Where is Shinshuyu? Where is the crown prince's consort? I heard Song Yinjie shouting outside. He couldn't find me. He realized I was gone. A flicker of hope ignited within me. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I shouted, "Song Yinjie, I'm here. I'm here. Song Yinjie, save me." He tried to rush inside, but I saw Yao Niang clinging to him desperately. "Don't go. I'm scared. Fire! Fire! Song Yinjie, stay with me. You must stay with me. My mother. My mother. Song Yinjie, you know." She collapsed, sobbing. I watched helplessly as Song Yinjie turned and scooped up Yao Niang. He wouldn't come for me. Instead, he shouted to others, "Find the crown princess quickly. If you can't find her, I'll have your heads." Flames licked at my hair, searing my eyes. I thought I was done for. Suddenly, my legs felt lighter. Zhou Tangyue pushed aside a beam and scooped me up. He slapped my face to snap me out of it, his grip terrifyingly strong. "Shinshuyu, you're going to live. Remember? If you die, I'll follow you in death. I'm not done living yet." He draped a damp blanket over me and rushed out, carrying me in his arms. That day, a patch of skin was seared from my cheek. Zhou Tangyuan nearly burned half his arm protecting me. The fire was set by a band of robbers. Yao Niang's flashy attire still drew the covetous eyes of the refugees. They colluded with local bandits, intent on murder, robbery, and arson. Everyone suffered undeserved calamity because of her foolishness. She deserved severe punishment that would make her pay dearly. Yet Song Yunjie wouldn't utter a single word about it. The day we returned to the Shin residence, my face was festering and oozing pus, a truly hideous sight. My mother slammed the door shut and berated me. "Look at what you've done to yourself. Beauty fades, love wanes, don't you understand? That little vixen's clinging to the crown prince, and you keep giving him the cold shoulder. What are you trying to accomplish? Do you even realize your father is furious? Have you considered how your mother and younger brother must endure this at home?" She jabbed my forehead, lamenting with bitter disappointment. "You can't keep a child safe, you can't remember what matters, what good is your head for anything?" She held a bowl of egg custard to my mouth, insisting it would nourish me. I felt queasy and turned my head away. I never eat eggs. When I was little, on my birthday, the kitchen sent over 2 eggs. Mother said there wasn't one for me, good things were saved for my brother. My mother was an unloved concubine, but she had good fortune. With so many children in the household, the mistress couldn't keep an eye on them all. Those she looked down upon stayed with their birth mothers. My concubine mother always hoped my younger brother would make something of himself someday, to prove her worth. That day, I sat with my plain noodles, watching my brother devour his fragrant egg custard. My mouth watered with envy. He ate hastily, dropping a small piece of egg white. I secretly picked it up and stuffed it into my mouth, swallowing it whole without even chewing, terrified my mother would catch me. But my brother suddenly burst into tears, wailing, "Big sister stole my egg." My mother dug her finger into my mouth, finding nothing. Furious, she slapped me several times to vent my brother's anger. She declared she'd teach me a lesson I'd never forget. She ordered my brother to beat me with a stick until he grew tired. Kneeling on the ground, I bowed my head repeatedly, to my mother, to my brother. Through my tears, I swore I'd never be greedy again. Later, when her anger cooled, she pulled me into her arms and soothed me. But she didn't understand, pain and shame don't vanish with a simple "I'm sorry." She made me feel like I was born worthless, my life less valuable than the egg in my little brother's mouth. Mother still chased me with the spoon, feeding me while grumbling, "You don't know how good you have it. Eat it all, every last bite." I slapped her, sending her and the bowl flying. My mother stood frozen, her eyebrows shot up in shock. She opened her mouth to scold me, but I cut her off coldly. "Get this straight, this palace isn't some little girl you can beat and scold to vent your anger. I'm doing you the honor of calling you mother. You'd best respond with gratitude. Be careful, when this palace gets angry, pulling out tongues is my favorite pastime." Song Yunjie returned well past midnight. He shuttled daily between the Shin residence and the disaster zone, spending 2 or 3 hours each way, squeezing in only brief naps. He could have found a place to rest locally, sparing himself such exhaustion. But he refused to, burdened by guilt. This was his way of apologizing to me, of atoning. I knew this, but I wouldn't accept it. When Song Yunjie entered the room, I was applying pain-relieving medicine. Fearing tears would soak my wounds, I covered my eyes with a handkerchief. He asked, "Does it hurt?" I couldn't see his face, only felt his voice enveloping me, soft and gentle. "It's too late, Song Yunjie. Much too late." I smiled faintly. How could I dare complain of pain? You'd only tell others I'm too delicate, unlike Yao Niang who endured so much suffering without a word. I never thought of her that way. He paused, then added, "If you find Yao Niang's presence inconvenient, I'll find her another place to stay." See? He knows Yao Niang's temperament, yet he never restrains her. Sometimes I wonder, what does he even like about her? Where does his immense patience with her come from? But for me, none of that matters anymore. I said I didn't want to stay at the Shin residence. It was pointless. Home felt less like home the longer I stayed, the more unbearable it became. I heard the flood control efforts were nearly complete, so I asked Song Yunjie to take me to the disaster area. Yao Niang would surely tag along. If she must follow, then so be it. Perched on Song Yunjie's horse, she raised her eyebrows at me. Ever since I first laid eyes on her, she'd always held herself with that haughty, superior air before me. I longed to see what she looked like when she cried, when she was desperate, when she looked truly fierce. Zhou Tangyue pulled me onto a horse. Before we set off, Song Yunjie cautioned him, "Ride slowly. Don't aggravate her wounds." Zhou Tangyue gave a forced smile and muttered, "I'd love to." The weather was unkind today. Overcast since dawn, rain inevitably began midway. A sense of foreboding settled over me. Upon entering Luchuan Mountain, that ominous feeling only intensified. Sure enough, halfway up the slope, a group of cloaked figures suddenly charged out. The guards became entangled in combat with them. Song Yunjie and Zhou Tangyue split their forces, one took me, the other took Yao Wang, and we fled in disarray. Both paths led to the same place. I was on the slope, Song Yunjie was below it. My gaze lingered on him for a long time. He glanced back occasionally, seeming to find some reassurance only when he saw Zhou Tangyue still following behind. I picked up my bow, nocked an arrow, and aimed at Song Yunjie. Zhou Tangyue warned me, "Shinshuyu, once the arrow leaves the bow, there's no turning back. Think carefully." I was smiling, yet my tongue felt bitter from the saltiness of tears. Song Yunjie and I had long since reached a point of no return. That night, when my child died, my arrow veered off course, startling Song Yunjie's horse. He and Yao Wang both tumbled to the ground. "You've grown rusty." Zhou Tangyue gripped my hand, calm and composed. "I'll help you. Once the arrow leaves the bow, there's no turning back, Shinshuyu. He must die." He misunderstood. I felt no reluctance. I shot another arrow, piercing Song Yunjie's chest. He saw me. He saw the bow in my hand. He saw my arrow taking his life. Yao Niang screamed, scrambling away without a second glance at Song Yunjie. I dismounted and told Zhou Tangyue, "You go after her." I walked down the slope. The world felt empty, every sound echoing louder. Zhou Tangyue arranged the ambush. I devised the plan. Those guards would assume the attackers were just another gang of thieves taking advantage of the chaos. Thanks to Yao Wang's stirring trouble, I could go with the flow and achieve my goal. Song Yunjie lay sprawled on the ground, blood spilling from his mouth. Each sentence came in halting bursts. "Sure, you remember everything." "Yes, I remember it all." "When did?" It wasn't all at once. Piece by piece, those memories came back to me in moments of unexpected clarity. At first, most were happy ones. Gradually, the sad ones grew more frequent. In the end, I could do nothing but weep through endless nights. Song Yunjie. While you busied yourself pleasing Yao Niang, while I tore myself apart in secret, I had already decided, you would die by my arrow. You never noticed, did you? My acting was quite convincing, wasn't it? I sat down beside Song Yunjie, his blood staining my skirt hem. He gave a self-mocking smile. "I should have killed you sooner. Just as your father killed my mother." I thought I'd misheard. Song Yunjie repeated, "Your father's men set fire to my mother. After my mother died, your aunt became empress. Yao Niang's mother was my wet nurse. She perished in that fire alongside my mother. I owe her." Song Yunjie fixed his gaze on me, asking slowly, word by word, "Shinshuyu, tell me. What should I do? Your father killed my mother. I dare not love you, yet I cannot bring myself to hate you either." Ha! Your expression is truly amusing. Exactly the same as when I first learned the truth. His long, ragged breath snapped me back to reality. My lips trembled, yet no words came out. Suddenly, everything made sense, his sudden coldness, his unpredictable temper. But, Song Yunjie, if you had raised your blade against my father, I would have held you in higher regard. If you'd simply killed me, I'd accept my misfortune. After all, I was born into the Shin family, and the Shin family owes you. But your blade only claimed your own flesh and blood. My child, So young. What crime did he commit? Was it only because his mother was me? I found it absurd, utterly ridiculous. If I could choose again, if given 1,000 chances, even knowing everything, I would still have killed him. Of all the choices, he chose the cruelest way to treat me. He ignored me, leaving me like a fool, endlessly wondering, why? Did I do something wrong? Where did I go wrong? I couldn't eat or sleep, constantly in agony, restless and uneasy. When I was at my lowest, he insisted I bear his child. Then, just as I was striving to become a good mother, he erased himself completely from my life. Song Ying-jie, you're truly skilled. You always know how to torment me, how to make my pain worse. Tell me, do you deserve to die? Song Ying-jie coughed up a mouthful of blood. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Shin Shuyu, well done. The days of my heart aching whenever you shed a tear are finally over. He smiled faintly as tears fell into his hair. Sure, it's so cold. Could you hold me? Or wipe my face clean, so I can go to my mother properly. By the time Zhou Tangyue dragged Yao Niang back, Song Ying-jie had already breathed his last. Yao Niang collapsed at my feet, sobbing and begging, don't kill me, don't kill me. I didn't do anything. I didn't kill your child either. You can't blame me, Shin Shuyu. Song Ying-jie is dead. Isn't that enough? Enough. He deserved it, he deserved it. I know he was planning to target your father. The emperor has already set his sights on the Shin family. I'll tell you everything you want to know, just don't kill me, please. I stared at her two severed legs. Zhou Tangyue said she'd fallen down the hillside in her panic. I pressed her head against Song Ying-jie's chest, remembering how they'd made so many wishes on the other side of that wall. Yao Niang, one cannot live without conscience. How good he was to you before. Didn't you always tell him, if we cannot live together, let us die together? Didn't you say you would be the one to accompany him to the very end? I shook her head and smiled. Yao Niang, you've won. Stay with him well. To live and die together, how romantic. Half a month later, news reached the imperial palace. The crown prince perished during flood control efforts, the crown princess fell from a cliff, her body lost forever. The emperor, enraged, dispatched troops to utterly annihilate the southern bandits. I pressed on southward. I was going to find Lu Yue. Zhou Tangyue stubbornly followed me. On the day we had to part, he asked me again, Shin Shuyu, I never told you, I've learned to make kites. The winds of the frontier will carry your butterflies to distant heights. After the new year, I'll be leaving. Want to come? He'd learned to speak in roundabout ways too. I scolded him, don't waste your time on useless things. I thought, I once loved someone, passionately, without reserve. Later, that love became a joke. Kites? Forget it. I'm no longer a 15-year-old girl. The end.